She said I didn't belong, that I was weak, that I brought shame to the uniform she wore with pride. But what she didn't know, the day I showed up on her base, everything would change. Because I wasn't just her sister anymore, I was her superior. And when her commanding officer yelled, "Attention for Captain Smith," she realized too late that she had underestimated the wrong sibling. From the moment we were kids, Emily was the star. Perfect grades, track medals, head cheerleader. And when she joined the military right out of college, my parents couldn't have been prouder. Then there was me, the quiet one. I struggled in school, battled anxiety, and flunked out of 2 majors before disappearing from the family radar. Emily had this natural charisma. Teachers adored her, recruiters flocked to her. At home, our parents decorated the hallway with her awards, her framed cadet photos, even a news article from her local paper when she made sergeant. No one ever asked what happened to me. But I had joined too. While Emily wore a crisp uniform and marched in parades, I worked behind a desk, decoding satellite imagery, tracking hostile activity from thousands of miles away. I enlisted under a different branch and trained in silence, far from the cameras and parades. "You push paper," she said at Christmas one year. "I wear the real uniform." I said nothing. But something inside me hardened that day. I stopped coming home for holidays. I buried myself in my work. And I learned that respect isn't given, it's earned in silence, often when no one is watching. Most of my work was confidential. I wasn't even allowed to tell friends or family where I was stationed. But when I volunteered for a high-risk international counterintelligence program, I knew it would change everything. I trained in 5 countries, learned 4 languages, and operated in silence while the world spun unaware. I crawled through foreign embassies, launched drone intercepts, and decrypted dark net chatter that saved hundreds of lives. There were nights I didn't sleep, nights I had to make choices that still echo in my head. But through it all, I learned resilience, discipline, leadership. 3 years later, I stood in front of a Black Ops panel and accepted a field commission, Captain, Cyber Recon Division. My record was sealed, my identity in operations protected. Even my family couldn't know, but then came the orders that changed everything. Temporary reassignment, Fort Wells, Joint Task Force Simulation Command, Emily's base. When I stepped off the chopper, the sun was blazing and soldiers were moving in every direction. I wore my standard issue fatigues, insignia crisp, hair tied tight. "Hey newbie," a familiar voice snapped. "You lost or just slow?" I turned. Emily. She didn't recognize me at first. Not in uniform, not with rank, not standing straight and still. Her jaw dropped. "What? What are you doing here?" "Orders," I said. "Cyber Recon Division," she scoffed. "Figures." Still behind a keyboard, huh? She walked off without waiting for my reply. It didn't bother me, not as much as it used to, because now I had nothing to prove to her, but she was about to find out who I had become. Later that day, I reviewed the personnel manifest. Emily was a squad leader in Red Company. Field test operators, ground assault and perimeter defense. Classic heavy unit, her file was spotless, of course. Commendations, peer support. But I saw something else, a tendency to disregard cyber briefings. A pattern of overconfidence. This simulation would test her limits. Fort Wells was known for one thing, live for simulations. Every branch, every skill set, real-time field stress. And I was here to lead the digital wargame interface. Only I wasn't just there to support. I was to command the entire test division. Emily didn't know that. She mocked me during meals, ignored me in hallways. Once, she even warned another officer, "Don't expect much from her, she folds under pressure." I said nothing, but I remembered. The lead-up to simulation week involved over 300 active personnel. It was the largest integrated drill the base had ever hosted, and my job? To run point on all digital operations, cyber threats, logistics control, and adversarial simulations. I held briefings every morning. Emily skipped most of them. She thought I was background noise. Behind the scenes, my team built one of the most complex wargame simulations ever designed. Real-world variables, live encryption feeds. Rogue AI learning patterns. This was more than a drill, it was a proving ground. Day 1 of SimOp week. The base stood lined up in front of the command tent. General Mark stood tall. "Today, we introduce a visiting officer who will oversee the cyber operations interface of our exercises." Emily smirked beside her squad, then the general bellowed. "Attention for Captain Smith." I stepped forward. Emily's eyes widened, the smirk died, her CO turned sharply toward her. "You will salute your superior officer, Lieutenant, now." Emily stood frozen, then slowly raised her hand. I returned the salute, at ease, everyone. And that was the moment everything shifted. Her eyes followed me all the way to the front. Her squad whispered, I didn't flinch. After the announcement, the rest of the officers returned to their duties, but Emily didn't move. I caught a glimpse of her still standing there as I disappeared into the command tent where the war room had been set up. Dozens of large screens displayed live feeds, sim data, heat maps, and threat projections, the nerve center of the operation. My team was already in motion. Lieutenant Rana on logistics, Sergeant Cruz monitoring drone interface, and Ops Specialist Len on adversary emulation. Captain, Rana called, enemy squads deployed on sectors 6 and 11. They're using old cold start jamming techniques. I nodded, initiate counter-cipher sweep. Divert Red Company to sector 10. I want them running interference. That was Emily's squad. Rana hesitated. Sir, they've already failed to training assessments in signal interpretation. I know, I said, it's time they learned to adapt. On the field, Red Company fumbled. They ignored comms updates, lost half their simulated equipment to a stealth hack, and mistook a friendly unit for a hostile. Emily kept trying to muscle through, shouting orders instead of recalibrating the system. It was textbook tactical overconfidence, and it was costing her. I watched from the monitor, noting every decision. After the session, I led the debrief. Red Company, I said, can anyone here explain why your drone failed to recognize the base beacon signal? Emily remained silent. Lieutenant? I pressed. She stood. No excuse, Captain. It was my responsibility. For someone who claims to wear the real uniform, I expected better. Silence fell, then I dismissed the room. That night, I stayed late in the sim lab. The base was quieter after 2,300 hours. But I wasn't alone. Emily stood in the doorway, arms crossed. Is this what you wanted? She asked. To embarrass me? No, I said, not looking up. I wanted you to take your job seriously. She walked in slowly. You think I don't? I spun in my chair. I think you never took me seriously. And now that I'm standing where I've earned, it terrifies you. She sank onto the edge of the desk. Her bravado cracked. You don't get it? Being the golden child is exhausting. If I fail, everyone sees it. You fail. No one notices. I leaned forward. And that's why I don't fail. We sat in silence, for once, no rank, just sisters. I read your file, she said quietly. You saved people. You led missions no one knew existed. I was wrong. I said nothing. She needed to say it. I'm sorry. Now I nodded. Let's move forward. The last day of SimOp Week brought the culmination of fully immersive tactical engagement. Real drones, real terrain, full failure consequences. My role was to direct strategic response from the war room, but I embedded a surprise. I added a rogue signal source behind Red Company's assigned zone, a coded trap to test adaptability. Emily's team detected the anomaly. This time, she paused. Hold position, she ordered. Verify signal. Use the protocol from yesterday's brief. The tech responded, it's a disguised relay. If we don't act now, we lose grid access. She replied, then we reroute. Simulate satellite fallback, we move in 20 seconds. My console lit green, she had done it. The operation concluded with her squad outperforming every other unit. At the closing ceremony, General Marks addressed the assembly. Red Company showed what growth looks like: adaptability, humility, and leadership. Emily's name was called. She stepped forward. The applause was thunderous. Then my name. Captain Smith, the general said, executed the most advanced wargame simulation this base has ever run. Her strategy didn't just test you, it strengthened you. He pinned a ribbon to my chest. Outstanding service in command. As the troops saluted, I found Emily in the crowd, her hand at her brow, pride in her eyes. 6 months later, Emily and I co-authored a training module, Sisters in Arms, Bridging Field and Digital Command. Our sessions filled up faster than any other course at the academy. In one lecture, a cadet raised his hand. Captain Smith, what's the biggest lesson you've learned? I smiled. That rank is earned, not inherited. And that sometimes your toughest critics are your closest family. Emily added, and if you're lucky, they turn into your strongest allies. We walked off stage together, to leaders, to soldiers, to sisters, and the crowd stood to applaud.